Finally, Trekkies are getting their first Star Trek series in over 12 years with Star Trek Discovery. And while we're no doubt excited about the prospects of this new show, don't think for a second that we haven't rewatched all of the old shows like a million times. What's up, guys? I'm KILLIAN with Comicbook.com, and I'm gonna rank the 10 best Star Trek episodes. Starting off at number 10 is Space Seed. Now this is a classic episode from the first season of the original series and really where Star Trek II begins. Most famous for being Ricardo Montalban's lone appearance on the show, it eventually set the stage for the undisputed champion of Star Trek films, The Wrath of Khan, which was set 15 years after Kirk and the Enterprise happened upon the Botany Bay. It's clear from the get-go that Khan is superior to Kirk in every single way, but does that stop Kirk? Hell no! Number 9, All Good Things. Now how could the series finale from The Next Generation not make the list? It's pretty impressive the way they wrapped up 7 years worth of material circling back to the pilot to reveal that everything had pretty much just been leading up to this moment. Let's just admit it, this is one of, if not the best finale of all the Star Trek shows. Ultimately, it's a touching and deserving send-off for Picard and his crew. At number 8, we've got In the Pale Moonlight. Now there were a lot of great episodes to come out of Star Trek Deep Space Nine, but this was probably the best. The show became known for going to places, metaphorically speaking of course, not physically, that the other Star Trek series wouldn't go. And this episode was a prime example of that. Star Trek rarely got darker than this, and fans praised the angry performance of Avery Brooks, whose character really struggled with the cost of war. Number 7, The Trouble with Tribbles. When talking about this fan favorite episode from the original series, writer David Gerald explained that not all of the aliens were meant to be scary or ugly, some of them were going to be cute and friendly. It was this theory that led to not only one of the funnier Star Trek episodes, but also an intertwined spin-off episode on Deep Space Nine over 29 years later. Coming in at number 6 is The Measure of a Man. What makes a man is a question that sci-fi has proposed in different mediums for a long time, and this episode on The Next Generation does an outstanding job of raising those ethical questions in reference to Data's attempt to understand humanity while his very sentience is called into question. Patrick Stewart's closing argument is an excellent example of why we love him as Captain Picard. Number 5 is Mirror Mirror. There are so many reasons to love this episode from the original series. That Spock goatee, hello. Not enough? How about George Takei hamming it up as Evil Sulu? This was perhaps Star Trek at its most fun, with an episode that took a look at what might have been, going on to inspire future episodes for both Deep Space Nine and Enterprise. Number 4, The Balance of Terror. This classic episode right out of the original series is perhaps most famous for introducing the Romulans, but there's so much more to it than that. Inspired by submarine warfare, The Balance of Terror is one of the heavier episodes the original series ever produced, with dissension in the ranks as the crew questioned Spock due to the common background between the Vulcans and the Romulans. The unnamed Romulan commander and Kirk also find a mutual respect before he sacrifices himself for the betterment of his empire. Coming in the third spot is Yesterday's Enterprise. Not only is this arguably the Next Generation's greatest singular episode, but it's also arguably one of the best sci-fi stories period, exploring what would happen if the Federation and the Klingon Empire had not made peace, but rather had been at war for years. The only upside to this whole timeline mess is that Tasha Yar would still be alive. Ultimately, it takes Enterprise D teaming up with Enterprise C, whose crews selflessly sacrifice their own lives in order to restore the universe to its proper timeline. At number 2, The Best of Both Worlds. Now, if Yesterday's Enterprise is the best single episode from The Next Generation, it's only because The Best of Both Worlds is split up into 2 parts. The first episode being the end of the 3rd season cliffhanger, which made fans believe that Picard might permanently go Borg. The story arc also introduced elements that wouldn't be wrapped up until 1995's Star Trek First Contact, which most fans consider to be the best next-gen Star Trek film. And finally, the single greatest Star Trek episode ever, City on the Edge of Forever. That's right, it's not only the best episode to come out of the original series, but it is simply the best Star Trek episode of all time. That's right, I said it, and considering the series creator, Gene Roddenberry, once described it as Star Trek's finest hour, it's pretty safe in the number 1 spot. Captain Kirk's destiny to be alone has always been a recurring theme, but it's never been displayed more beautifully than here. Let this episode be a reminder, if you're traveling through time, never fall in love. Now, what's your favorite Star Trek episode? Let me know in the comments, check out some of our other videos, and most importantly, live long and prosper.